Well, good morning, Miracle Center for Spiritual Living, and welcome everybody. Welcome everyone to Miracle Centers for Spiritual Living Sunday morning service. Today is September 13th, 2020. And I just want to say that Miracle Center for Spiritual Living is located at 2653 South Taylor Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And so just want to say welcome to everyone again, that some of you in the sanctuary are there, and some are joining us on Zoom, and some are joining us by telephone. So just welcome everyone, and just know that everyone is healthy, well, and safe. And we're just so glad to be together this morning for this service. Just a little bit about this service. Our monthly theme, or Centers for Spiritual Living's monthly theme, is Facing the Fear. And the weekly theme that we're to hear about today is Skepticism, Doubt, and Fear. And so now I'd like to just get started with the invocation for the service. So if you'd all want to just join me and center down and go within. Take a few deep breaths and connect to that place where Spirit is within all of us. So Divine Spirit, Mother, Father, God, we come to you with a happy, open heart this morning, just full of joy and love and acceptance, knowing our oneness. This almighty power, this all-knowingness, all-intelligent that God is within each and every one of us. And in this oneness, that is where we meet Divine Spirit. So just blessing this Spirit, or blessing our oneness in this Spirit, we bless this service, knowing that we are open at the top, that we will learn new things to use in our life to be better and loving and more joyous, to live a full and healthy and happy and life in service to each other, in service to the world. Blessing each and every one that has made this service come together and happen. I just bless you. I give great thanks for you. Give great thanks for all of us to come together. Great thanks for each and every one here. And so I just release this prayer into the law of the mind of God, knowing that all good things are in effect. And we just let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. And so now I'd like to share with you the Awakening Our Perspective, which is the Science of Mind point of view. It's in your program. If any of you have your program with you, you can read along with me. And it says, there is no room for doubt in a treatment. Realize that you treat with your understanding through the law. Meditate upon the spiritual significance of the statements you make until you induce within consciousness a definite concept of an already established fact, even though the fact may not have become objectified. And that is on page 586 in the Science of Mind. And there is a quote that I'll share. If you want to be successful, it is just this simple. know what you are doing, love what you are doing, and believe in what you are doing. And that is by Will Rogers in the book Faith Leads to Success. And so I'll just turn to our Reverend June Clark that is going to give us our message today. So we welcome Reverend June. Thank you.
Good morning, Lynnette, and thank you. We're getting on the way to you seeing me, I believe. So it's a blessing to be here this morning. Does he have me yet? Not yet. I'm the building that has the, let me see, I'll take the one with the round head, not the pointed head. That's me. So as we get set and moving into the perfect visual, you need me to turn that off? Oh, okay. Let me stay in my own lane. I don't know how to do it anyway. So, so good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm sending some of the water that's falling from the sky. I'm sending it to my blessed space in California and in Oregon and in Washington State, and taking a personal note to bless my youngest child, who is a California Department of Forestry person and who is a firefighter. So just blessing all those who are assisting with those fires that are raging, literally raging these few days in California. So just knowing that God is in charge of everything, and we bless it and know that it too is going to subside and cease. So this morning, as Lynnette brought us to open our Sunday service, I was brought to the awareness, and happily the awareness, of the weekly theme being skepticism, doubt, and fear. And as I have wrestled with the angel with this talk, and I mean that literally. I actually wrote the notes for this talk. I actually wrote it on the 7th of September, and I remember that because it's my daughter's birthday, and it was Monday, the day after service on Sunday, and I just sat down and I just wrote this information out. And I'll have to say, I thought I sent it to Susie, and I sent a note with it, and I said, yay, I did this early for a change. Went on about my business, and I'm not sure if it was Tuesday, I think it was Wednesday, I got a note from Susie, and it said, I did not receive anything with the email. That started a whirlwind in the brain, a whirlwind in the ability to try and find this information on my computer, the whirlwind to drive to Strongsville and put my computer in with the Geek Squad there, because I have a Geek Squad account. Of course, they're going to solve the issue. The whirlwind of waiting for 2.5 hours and going back to be told, oh, the person who was going to work on it had to go home. Nothing was done to the computer. So some more whirlwind of, okay, where can I go now, to make 2 different appointments. And you know what? Fear skeptical doubt and fear. You see, when you focus on something, that's what you get. So I got all those things all mixed up in one nice little package. And somehow I decided, you wrote it once, just do it again. So I did it again and found some of the information I was going to use and actually came up with a whole new concept, kind of, sorta. And here I am. And what has come out of this for all of this for me is I still have skepticism. I have doubt. And the title says fear, that's crossed out here, just don't go there. And so the self said to the self, what do you mean by that? And the self said, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. We're going to read through some things. I'm going to do some things this morning. But I am so not in doubt so much, but I think in awareness of the limitation of the human when it comes to what we've been taught, when it comes to a base word like fear. I separated fear from faith. And I don't know if I should have done that, because I'm in this quagmire and this dilemma, and you'll see if you, I'm sure you got it. It's on a card for us. This article that Reverend Leora sent me from California, and it's about fear. And then there's several quotes in here about fear. And then in my own life, trying to figure out, okay, I have on here, fear, just don't go there. So what does fear do? You know, the child in the commercial says, what's the name do? What does fear actually do that is so negative that we shouldn't go there? And as I proceeded to rewrite this week's lesson, I came up with several different things. And the first thing that I wrote down after I had this all printed was, fear is here to teach us to let go. Now, you see, I've been and I am afraid, and that's a different word. I came up with that conclusion. Being afraid is different than fear for me. I'm afraid of many, many things. And that's a good thing, because I am not going to, something silly. I am not going to go to the zoo and be afraid and say I'm not afraid and slip between the rails of a lion's den, literally. And then figuratively, I'm afraid of certain lion's dens that come up in my life that I'm just not going to go there. So when I say fear, just don't go there, I really have sense to not go to certain places, not literally go to places. I'm not talking about walls and roofs and that kind of places. I know that I will not go to places in my mind, because I know if I go to certain places in my mind, I will come out cuckoo crazy. I will not get anything accomplished. I will be spinning my wheels. I will be in everybody else's lane. And I know that's the truth. So I came up with the conclusion that being afraid is different than fear. Now that's for me. You can muddle all through this because you may wind up at the end of this hour this morning being very muddled. So I'm not trying to convince you of something that I personally feel or believe. I'm just here to, what's the song? Stay woke. I want you to stay woke to your own mentality, your own consciousness. What gets you there and what doesn't get you there. So the word fear can be very, very, very valuable. It can be what moves you off of the dime to do something that you have been afraid of, or what you look at and you fear doing it, because I think most of the time it's because we don't know what it's going to be, what the outcome's going to be. So try and keep me straight. Try and keep it straight in your head about what you want to believe and what we're going to share. And this is kind of one where you're on your own, because for that word to mean whatever it means to you is the most important thing. So I went to references of Christian Larson, Pathway to the Roses, which is one of the books we use in practitioner studies. And he writes beautifully. And he says, the mind that lives in doubt can see limitations everywhere. If you're living in doubt, see that's not the word fear, but if you want to think it's fear, then that's okay. But if you live in doubt and you can see limitations everywhere, what I immediately flashed in my mind was, if you're standing on the corner and the light changes and you're a person that doubts everything, and you're standing there and you see it go from red to green, and you're a doubter. So you doubt and you say, I wonder if I ought to go now. The light's green and you're planted. I wonder if I should step off the curb. By the time you calculate what you think you ought to, should, and do, you're out in the middle of the crosswalk. This is a fairly wide street. And all of a sudden, guess what? That little walk sign starts blinking. And there you are, and there's all these cars. And because of your doubt, because you didn't believe what the green light said, there you are in the middle of no man's land. So you got to run across the street. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just saying, think about it. If you're a doubter, think about it. When it says go, then go. But if you have a sense of doubt or you fear something is going to happen, then you better kind of sort of examine when you have doubt and when you don't. So the mind that lives in doubt can see limitations everywhere, and I mean everywhere. The mind that lives in faith can see no limitations. Not meaning that if the light's red, you see no limitations, so you're going to walk on out there. That's not what it says. It means that you have common sense, that you have an awareness of what is appropriate and what is not. So in finishing the sentence, that lives in faith can see no limitations, and in fact knows that there are no limitations anywhere. That there's going to be time to hesitate, that there's going to be time to know that the light's green and just go. And there's going to be times to know that the yellow is on, so that means it's going to either go green or it's going to go red. And you have time to make sure that you have put yourself in the appropriate span and time of space to enact, to go. And that's about anything in your life. Do I eat breakfast now? Do I eat breakfast in an hour? Do I take my medicine before I eat? Do I take my medicine while I eat? Do I take my medicine after I eat? What do I do? Is it a limitation or is it a doubt? Or does it matter at all? You know, a lot of stuff just does not matter. So moving on here. The mind that lives in doubt is in bondage to these seeming limitations and therefore realizes nothing more of life than what is confirmed within these seeming limitations. But the mind that lives in faith lives in the freedom of all the life and is daily realizing more and more of everything that is contained in the all of life. So the word balance comes up in my mind. If you are balanced, if you have doubt sometime, if you spring forward sometime, and you know when to do it in the appropriate manner and you know when to do it correctly, you're fine. Doubt sometime. There's a little article in our newsletter about calls that you get. Been getting a lot of them these days. Calls that you might get. And if you doubt that call, the person on the other end of that call is legitimate, and you still listen to them, that's up to you. You're still listening. Then when they finish and they ask you for the last four numbers of your social security number, and you just rattle it off. DUMB. You know, I mean, there's a time to doubt and there's a time to know. I think that's a time to know. So we must be balanced in our awareness. So that's all I'm going to say with Christian. Christian Larson on page 191 of The Pathway to Roses. And if you have that book, anything that you read in that book is very much in alignment with science of mind, but yet you're getting a different perspective of somebody else's teachings and a new way to look at your own thought patterns about different things. So the next section we have here, faith is built up from belief, acceptance, and trust. So if you have belief, you have acceptance and trust, where does fear come in? I've been wrestling with this, with the angels all week. Where does fear come in? Sometime when you get a knowing, an answer, you get a clear answer from someone you trust, from a trusted system, a trusted doctor is an easy example. And you trust this person, and you have asked this person to check this out to see if X is correct about yourself. X, whatever word you want to put in there. If this is a true fact, this is a MD who has gone to school, read the books, knows, experience, et cetera, about what you're asking about. So you go and you have faith, you have belief, you have acceptance, and you have trust. They say one word. You think of your own word. They say one word. What happens? What happens if you hear a word that the reason you went there for was to see, we'll just use a blocked ear. You can't really hear out of one of your ears. And the doctor does, looks and all that stuff. And he says, yes, you have a blocked ear. Now, you had faith, you had belief, you had acceptance, and you had trust. Up to that point, maybe you can handle it, maybe you can't. Then the next thing he says is, and that blockage is so big that I have to open your skull and go down and through and around, and I have to take it out. What happens? I mean, that's a hypothetical situation. What happens to the faith, to the belief, to the acceptance, and the trust? F-E-A-R comes up. Fear. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? What do I do? What should I ought to do? 2 seconds ago, you were there to accept an opinion. After you get the opinion, what do we resort to? Fear. And I'm not saying you do this. I'm saying I do this. And with the statistical information that I believe if that is true of me, it's true of at least one other person. So I'm not just hollering in the wind here. So reading this next information, whenever skepticism enters our thought, it destroys faith. Now, is that true for you or not? Is it true about everything? Do you just bring up fear about every single thing that comes up that's not exactly what you thought it was going to be? Since every thought is a prayer, we have to carefully monitor our thoughts so that our faith is not compromised. Our faith is not compromised. If you're like me, it's not easy to do. There have been many, many times, especially when I think backward, many, many times when I had all the faith in the world that this was going to happen this way, and if I turned to the right, then all of that was going to be solved, and whatever was on the left was just going to dissipate and blow away as if it didn't exist. I had the faith, I had the trust, and I had the acceptance, and I had the belief. But yet when I turned to the right, did things always shift? Did they always change? Did fear come up? Did fear come up? Yes, it did. So that's what I'm asking you to think about, asking you to wrestle with the angel about. And I don't know if there's a concrete answer or solution to this, but what I do believe and what I have accepted is crossing out this word fear as I did in my title is probably not a good thing. You gotta be scared enough sometime to return to the right where you've turned and looked for an answer and use that faith and push down that doubt. And that fear kind of kicks you in the you know what, and it creates a fighting spirit in you. It creates I'll go to another doctor, or I'll get the medical book, or I'll get on the computer, or I'll talk to somebody who has done this, and that's okay. But I will get information that affirms and replaces the fear It affirms that I no longer am in fear, but I am awakened because of the fear to seek the highest and best for a issue or a need to go and find out what I need to go and do for myself. So we can just, after all that time of trying to get those lines in there, and I couldn't get them in, and I asked Susie to put them in there. Messages. I tried this at home. I could not put the line through fear. I could not. You don't know how long it took me to try and do that. Okay, June, don't put it there. No, I got to have it there. So I said, Susie, put it there because I can't. Was I being told something? Was I being stubborn? Probably. Can get that way real quick. So in our spiritual growth, I don't care how many classes you've had. I think, is it Pope John at the moment? Is he infallible? No. Think about what we're doing and look at what we're doing. And first of all, do it with faith. Do it with trust. And if it takes fear to kick you in the you-know-what to get you to really look with faith and understanding and acceptance, then just know that fear is on your side to an extent. I don't want you to go and stand in the corner for 2 or 3 days because you're afraid to turn around and walk out the door. I literally, fear can freeze us. Don't want you to freeze. We must continually feed our faith with supporting input. If you need more information, don't ask somebody that doesn't know any more than you do. I've done that too. Well, what do you think about it? Well, such and such and such and such. And then you think to yourself, they don't know what they're talking about. Because they're almost saying something to, what does it say? Supplicate you, to make you feel good, to make you think you're not as knowledgeable as you know you're not. So go to somewhere that, again, this faith and trust and the factual information from someone who can give you the facts, that the facts have good faith, learning, intelligence, divine wisdom behind what they're telling you. Then you take your faith, your wisdom, and your good sense, and you run it through your filters, and you decide how that fits for your life. So there's another quote in here from Will Rogers. Even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. Move. Do something. Because they say do something even if it's wrong. And who proves it to be wrong? Maybe your neighbor, maybe the one that you're talking to thinks it was wrong. You've got to decide if it was wrong or not. Because if you don't have the wherewithal to examine your own thinking, your own research, your own thoughts, then I guess you get what you deserve. If you ask questions of somebody that knows just as much or less than what you know. Not saying it's wrong, not saying they're wrong, not saying that you're wrong, but at least get information from an appropriate source. And it sounds like I'm talking about something real serious, but doggone it, everything you do is serious. Every single thing you do is serious because it matters. It matters to this bubble that is around me. My life can only be satisfied with what I'm satisfied about. Someone may look and say, but you have this and you have that, and everything is going so well. Well, what do you know about me? What do you know about me? What I've told you? What I show you? Again, haha. You only know and you perceive what is given by another person. Because my thoughts are, I don't want to know everything about you. I got enough to do with this bubble here. And I don't mean that to sound like, don't tell me anything, or if you have an issue, don't tell me. That's not what I mean. I think you know what I mean. I love everybody. I don't like everybody. But I have this consciousness of love and faith and acceptance that on the whole, 99.9.9.9% of all people, and I guess I ought to say 100% of all people are good. Their consciousness is wonderful. Now, do they understand this? Do they realize this? Am I being judgmental when I think that they're not? No, I'm being human. And it's okay to be human. So this is where my dilemma has been all week with fear. What am I afraid of? My son that I mentioned, Matthew, he's my youngest son, that I never thought would be interested in being an EMT or a firefighter or anything like that. And he calls and he says, I'm up in the San Jose area, which is up where the fires are. Now, do I have fear? No. Because he's been doing this for so long, and that's not a good excuse. The excuse that I have is I do prayer work. Not just for him, I do it for all people that are involved in this situation. And it's God's will, whatever happens, and there's been some terrible, tragic things that have happened. Are those things terrible and tragic to instill fear in those of us, I guess it's a little political, who don't think that there's climate change, who don't think that the drought over the last 4 years have set up those forests to be like tinder. They're just tall trees that are so dry that they go up in explosions. Some things happen to kick us in the you-know-what, to say more of us have to begin to focus in prayer about our planet. Rough lessons, but they're lessons, they're awakenings, they're fear that pushes us to manifest prayer work in order to change certain things in this world. And California, Washington, and Oregon, and then you take Nevada, you take Colorado, you take here on the East Coast, we have the Appalachian Mountains, we have a couple other mountain ranges across our country. Now just think if all of them were in a drought situation for about 5 years. Then all of a sudden, the winds shift. We have, in California, they have the Santa Ana winds, which are very hot winds. They come from a different direction. You get a spark. and all of these fires occur. So the fear, we don't instill fear in ourselves that we live in an area that has trees and all that. So we're fearful we're going to have a forest fire. We're not. But we can shift our focus of prayer for the universal allness, for God to express itself as wholeness throughout this country, throughout everything that is needed for this country, not to move into fear of worldwide fires or whatever it is. We can shift, and fear will move us that way. So again, going back to my original thought, just don't go there. Yes, go there. Go to fear, but let it mean something that's going to be constructive in your life. Don't just shut it out, but let it be constructive. If you want to, this is back to the notes. If you want to be successful, it's just this simple. Know what you are doing. Why are you doing that? And the 2-year-old says, I don't know. How old are we? Are we still saying, I don't know? Maybe the 2-year-old has a good excuse because maybe they don't know. But I think everyone within the sound of my voice is old enough to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Love what you are doing. Just because it seems a little strange that you collect frogs and keep them in a terrarium or keep them in an aquarium or keep them in whatever you need to keep them in. It may seem strange to several people when they walk in your house, that they hear chirping and see frogs hopping around, and maybe you let them out around your floor, and yeah, it might seem strange. But if you love it, they don't have a nickel in that dime. And I'm being facetious, but love what you're doing and respect it enough to do it well, to take care of what you're doing, to continue what you're doing, and you're a blessing. I'm not going to give you a name, but I know someone that we know that started one day going past a store in their local area that they go past. And they said to me one day, Reverend June, that's such a mess all the time. The person started raking up the mess, throwing the mess in the trash can. Goes back 10 days. Guess what? Same corner, same store, same mess. What do? They rake it up and they throw it away. Now, someone may say, what are you doing? And it was said to me, I'm doing my civic choice. I'm blessing myself by blessing others because I'm picking up trash and throwing it away. Now, does it matter how many people continue to throw trash? Yes, it does, because they're not getting it. Does it matter if anybody says, why are you doing that? No, it doesn't matter to the person because they're still going to do it. So if you love what you're doing, do it. If it serves you, then do it. And there's so many things that are good for all of us, to awaken all of us, that we could do and keep on stepping. And do we need somebody to write your name in ink or in stone and then hold it up for everybody to see? No. Just do good stuff and love it. So there's another Will Rogers quote here. If you want to be successful, it's just this simple. Know what you are doing, love what you are doing, and believe in what you are doing. That's simple. When we give it permission, as we acknowledge the it, whatever the it is, when we give it permission to be, just to be, we allow it to take up residency, so to speak. Whatever good you do, it takes up residency in your heart. It takes up residency in someone who sees it, even if they don't stop and say that looks nice, or oh, that's a good job, or oh, whatever. You know, sometimes we live according to praise. And I don't mean praising God. I mean waiting for somebody to praise what we do. But an awful lot of us are going to have to wait an awful long time, and we better not hold our breath. So do something positive, do something wonderful, and don't fear that it is going to affect someone else negatively, because you don't have the fear, because you know it's good. So I'm going to invite our reader this morning, who is Steve Smith, and he is going to do a reading for us that's on your bulletin, and then we're going to have the song, Heal the World, and then we'll have a conclusion.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Steve.
My internet is jumping back and forth, so you might hear me and you might not. A healthy dose of questioning is a great tool for developing an understanding of what we believe and or know. When we think we know it all, or are not willing to ask what it means when someone finds their prayers have not been answered, we are no longer in alignment with being open at the top. Let's engage in the process and inquire on as many levels as possible and see how far things go through the rabbit hole we can venture.
Thank you, Steve. It came through very well. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to have our song for the month. It's Heal the World. So just relax and listen, or we'll try and cue it up here on the screen for you. We have a conclusion here, and I'm going to do something a little different. And I'd like the practitioners to come up, and I'm going to do a treatment, and then I'm going to move into something else. And the conclusion we may get to, and you may have to read that on your own. So bringing the awareness of truth to the forefront of our mind, of our heart, we speak our word knowing, and appreciating, and believing, and even fearing what is going on in our lives, so that we are awakened to the fact and know that there is only one thing, one essence, one truth that is happening in this allness of life. And that is God expressing itself. It unfolds itself in the truth of a person who has made their transition. We have people in our congregation who have had transitions within this week, within these last few days, and we bless those who have passed on. We have newness in our world as we bring forth our prayers for change and shift, not only in the environment, but in all lives, in our political lives, in the essence and truth of who we are. We know that we are one with God, and therefore all is perfect and divine. We accept only the truth. We accept the positivity of life. And we go about our lives as God has it ordained for it to be at this time, knowing that the changes that we have made are existing in this time and in this place and are moving us forward as we continue to know what to do, listen to the science that is being shared with us, and bringing our lives forward and better and into the awareness that God is all there is, and that there is simply truth within every occurrence, every appearance. It is God expressing itself. And knowing this, as we each individually examine our own lives, our own presence, our own families, our own divinity, that we know we are in a divine and perfect space. We don't have to eliminate fear. We have to be conscious of it and use it to bring forth what it is telling us to bring forth, the highest and the best for each and every person, regardless of appearance. We have our faith, we have our knowing, we are blessed, and we live as we are blessed in the knowingness in and as the heart of God. Knowing that this is the truth, I bless those who have made their transition in our families, in your family, knowing that God is there also. I bless each of us as we go about our daily lives, recognizing the good, the perfect, the beautiful, and assisting one another in this life. I know that the essence and the truth is in the awareness of November 3rd, as it is a phenomenal day for us to exercise our God-given right to vote. I include this in our prayer. I know our prayers are sacred. I know that they are truth. I allow them to unfold and to be, and so it is. So now I'm going to do something that I don't do very often. And I want you to, at home, to just, if you want to hold the consciousness with me, to do it silently. And you can turn the lights down just a little bit, please. So I am going to read some of this. In the silence, support me and join with me silently if you choose. You can simply say silently to yourself as I speak the words, I am in an open space, an open sacred space, and I accept the transmutation of spirit within me, recognizing my best and highest good prevails to be with me. I use a candle and a match, and I stand in a quiet place. Repeat this silently to yourself as I say it aloud and as I light the candle. I am the light. I am the light. I am the light. Moving on, cleansing and aligning with the power of water. I have a goblet here of water. I pour a small amount of salt into my hand. Now I literally think into the salt, all that I wish to transmute into the water, allowing the salt to absorb negative emotions from me and anything in my body and field that no longer serves me and that I wish to release. So if you mentally want to release something, anything that is in your heart, in your mind, just focus as I focus on the salt in my hand. Release this negativity into the water. Giving it all to the water, I will pour this water down the drain. Join me as we take a few deep breaths and sighs of relief as we feel this release. It's a ritual. It's something that if it means nothing to you, it means nothing to you. If it's something that you can create at home, if it's some way that you can tangibly put something that is really, really oppressing you in your heart, do something like this. Kneel down if you never kneel when you pray. Put your hands together. It's a ritual. It's an idea. It's a thought. It's a imagery. It's a focus point. So this ritual represents communing with all senses and celebrating the human experience. Ritual and ceremony are powerful for transmuting, cleaning, and cleansing our energies, and for calling in all that we wish to manifest in our lives. Connecting us back into source, even though we are source and are never disconnected, and aligning us with our best and highest destinies. And at the end of our program here, in closing, the words of Ernest Holmes. What is fear but faith misplaced? It is an attitude of faith in the thing feared. In using faith, we are not fighting fear, we are merely transmuting it. And that's what we did this morning. And now we will have Lynnette bring us our benediction. And while she is doing the benediction, we in the sanctuary here will be doing our collection. And I bless you that blessing us through giving your tithes and offerings also. So Lynnette, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Okay, what I had planned for the benediction, I have a poem that I found that I would like to read. And in it is called Pandemic. It's by L. Unger. And it was written March 11th of this year. I just wanted to share this because I thought it was just such good words and food for thought. So it goes like this. What if you thought of it as the Jews considered the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling. Give up just for now on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, Reach out with your heart. Know that we are all connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse. In sickness and in health, as long as we all shall live. And so with that, I'll just continue with the benediction. May the love of God enfold you, hold you, keep you, uplift you in love, peace, and joy, and in good health as you go through the week this week, and bless us all as we return back to the service next week. And so together we all say,
And so it is. Amen, amen, amen. Thank you, Lynnette. Thank you. Okay, that's our blessing for this Sunday. Again, thank you, Reverend Leora, for sharing your guiding words, for Steve and Lynnette, and for our practitioners here, and all of you who are joining us. It's such a blessing to know that you're out there, and those of you that are here. So have a good week. Stay well.
Same to you. All right.